Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Vevna Forrow, yeah. So previously I was showing you Chill Subs had an update, right? Just this August in terms of the Lit Mag summary overview pages. So if you're curious what that looks like, what I'm referring to, listen back to that. And prior to that, I also did another little update episode just showing you one thing I wanted to regarding like Subfolio, right? Another submission management system in existence for lit mags, journals, and presses. And yeah, so today we're going to go back to covering, some literary magazines and journals, right? And yeah, so I think when we hear, right, um, magazines, literary magazines and journals, right, I think a lot of us immediately go to, right, flip through pages, right, paperback issues and things like that. But in reality, there are several other formats, right, of lit mags and journals, very unique ones out there. And one of those being postcards. Yes, postcards totally have been, used to sort of put together issues, and to create a unique presentation for contributors. Now, if we go here, just an example on Chill Subs and type, postcard, right? We only get one result, and Postcard Lit is not the only one in existence that does postcard poetry for issues, by the way. There are several other ones out there that I've come across, over the years. I'm not going to cover Postcard Lit today, but I will, show you their website a bit later. The one I want to cover with you guys today is actually HOOT. Now, HOOT here, you can see, it looks like they're open right now. And yeah, so we go to their page here. You can see it's yeah, it has that little owl and now on their social media, just keep in mind it says Hoot Review and so does their website. Yeah, there is like another magazine in existence called Hoot Mag, so don't confuse those two. But yeah, Hoot Review has been around for quite some time, I think they were founded back, yeah, it says here 2011. So yeah, they've been around for quite some time, yeah. It looks like 14 years. Yeah, that's really cool. And Postcard Lit, I think, came in existence later. So let's see, 2023. Yeah, and there are several other ones. They're not all listed in Chill Subs, right? In terms of postcard poetry and places that feature poetry or publish poetry on postcards. And yeah, so let's go back to Hoot here. So I'm going to do the usual, right? I'm going to cover, their guidelines, calls, the stats, right? And walk you through a little bit of their site and give commentary on it, yeah? So yeah, let's start here. So it looks like they have, they're open right now, and it says poetry up to 2 pieces, always open, no fee. And yeah, so if we click on this featured call here, it takes us right to here, and let's click on learn more. So yeah, it says digital here, and they have comics, creative, literary, and yeah. So I'm not sure if the print call is so I'm seeing digital here. So I'm not sure if they just didn't if they don't have if the call applies to just like online or print like on the postcards itself. That's what's not clear to me just on that. And that may be something like, even I showed you like one of the calls I set up for Dippity, right? I didn't have our specified word count in there at the time, and that's just because that call had opened up, and I put it elsewhere, right, in our actual like submittable, right? Sometimes we have submittable, we put the guidelines, additional details there, and we also put additional details like we're on Subfolio now, right, for example. So just keep that in mind. These aren't technically all the details sometimes of calls. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but it could be. And yeah, so we'll head over to the website to like confirm what the calls and submission guidelines entail too. But yeah, you can see they have comics, prose, poems, review, essay, flash, short story. They said previously published, and that entails anthologies, blogs, defunct mags, only appeared in print, other lit mags, personal website, social media, and accepts simultaneous submissions and publishes randomly. So Yeah, some places don't have a set schedule. I think it's hard for some places, and I understand that. At most, places I think try to get out, their a set amount of issues for the year, you know. So that's understandable, but yeah. And so they have file format here, and yeah. So we go back to overview here. It says their vibe is send us your best but less intimidating. And it looks like the acceptance rate is about 16.6%. And that, if we go to stats here, we can see there are these seven submissions tracked, right? So, this isn't all of the submissions in existence, right? Again, that they've had. It just depends whoever, keeps tabs on their submissions through Chill Subs tracker, right? But it's still helpful, So if you ever, I recommend again creating a Chill Subs account and keeping track of the places you submit to and what the decisions were, because it helps, with this acceptance rate calculation here that Chill Subs has, and it helps others. So yeah, it says here. So the idea, I'm quoting this off of Chill Subs here. The idea is to have stories and poems on a postcard so that they can be displayed and shared easily. Stick it on the fridge, tuck it in your husband's/wife's briefcase or nephew's book bag for people to have a literary magazine that they can both afford to subscribe to and have time to read. Never again will you be able to claim that you don't have time to read current literature. Each postcard will have fewer than 2 tweets, except it's not digital. The idea is to have a literary magazine that is excellent in a pure way. Want to read more? Well, you can check out HOOT online, which is equally good, but without the postcard. Because let's face it, we can't avoid digitalness completely. HOOT online follows the same standards, gimmick-free, short, excellent work, no more than 4 published each month. Other than that, you'll have to subscribe. It is a real thing. Subscribe, read it, touch it with your hands. So yeah, it looks like they have a mix of online and then the postcard print calls, too. So that's very cool, a literary magazine as a postcard. I think that's really neat. You can see it says they appear in the list of 200 plus magazines who publish comics, art, or other visual works, and then 15 lit mags who want your short and sweet memoir. So yeah, it looks like they are in industry rankings. I showed you Dipty's listing, and we didn't have this. Yeah, but I could have missed it. Maybe I don't know. But anyways, yeah, there's the fish list there, and then Erica Krause's top 500 and Breck top 1000. So yeah, I think we were on the fish list actually for I don't know. Anyways, it wasn't showing on our listing, but that's cool. We have industry rankings here, and I'm not sure when those industry rankings are updated either, but yeah. So the masthead, it looks like the editor in chief is Jane Rebecca Canarella, and then managing editor is Marie Mirandola. And I apologize if I completely messed up names. I apologize in advance. So yeah, it looks like they take submissions via submittable just by looking at that, and yeah. So we went over stats here, right? Average response time looks like 103 days. Fastest response time looks like 25 days, right? Max response time, editor's report is 180 days. And yeah, so I don't think I can click on that. So yeah, that's all. And then it looks like they have a new track submissions button in here, So that takes you out to the Chill Subs tracker, right? So that's a neat shortcut that they've implemented recently on the overview page as well. Okay, so let's head over. I almost said let's hold over. No, let's head over to the website here and check it out. Yeah. So yeah, this is Hoot Review and hootreview.com, right? So again, I read the about, and it looks like they're nonprofit as well. And yeah, so I think that's really cool. Again, I'll just share real quick, guys. I grew up collecting a lot of postcards, actually. Something my mom and I used to do. We would, take trips out to for grocery shopping, right? Local Minnesota food co-ops, and some of the ones back in Minnesota, there are quite a few, like East Side Food Co-op, and then some of the other ones throughout, not just Minneapolis, but across Minnesota. And on trips, sometimes we would also collect postcards, but there were always these postcards by the, entrance, and, as you're leaving too, like the doors, right? And they used to have this table, right? A small table by a window where they would put, postcards. There'd be ads to newspapers. And my mom and I would always, see what cool postcards were there, and we would actually collect those. And I had a shoebox full. I think I still have the shoebox, but I had a shoebox full of postcards, from, every time we took a grocery trip. Sometimes there wouldn't be any postcards too, but most of the time there was. And so I established this collection of postcards, right? And over the years, I also, purchased some interesting postcards too, for sure. I had like Pokemon postcards, and, ones from, trips over to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and other places. But yeah, I used to collect a lot of postcards for sure, and keychains. I always had this like tradition wherever I would take a trip to, I would always collect a unique keychain from the gift shop or someplace, to remember it by. So I ended up having this giant ring of keychains, and then the shoebox. I think it was an Adidas. Yeah, it's an Adidas shoebox full of postcards. I think I have it in storage somewhere. I might have to go through it and show you guys maybe on video now. But anyways, yeah, postcards are awesome, guys. I think it's so unique, again, most people think about literary magazines being, books, or, book type format, right? Or flip through, or those glossy pages. And that doesn't have to be the case, not just postcards, but there are other lit magazine journals. I'll share maybe another one that also has a pretty unique format. And I've mentioned them a little bit on this podcast, a little bit, I think, in the past. But yeah. So, that's cool. They published fiction, nonfiction, poetry, book reviews, and yeah, they said their issues are small and cool looking. So, yeah, I think that you can, think about where you could place postcards. They're easy to share, they're very lightweight, right? And yeah, so let's go to, so you can see print issues. This is what it looks like, right? They have their postcard series. I think this is really cool. And yeah, they also have, examples online of the postcards that were printed. So I think I have a screenshot from their social media feed. I'll just share it with you quick. And typically you can see, like, if you're not logged in or you don't have a social media account, you can see the first couple posts, right, of a social media feed. So let me pull it up for you guys. So this is what one of their table events, I think this was some AWP, just examples you can see. Like, these are the postcards. They're really cool, right? And yeah, they have way more photos on their social media account and like Instagram, so you can check it out. But I think that's really cool. Look at that, it's a very, very cool style, yeah. And then the images and the artwork, I think that's really nice. It's a great presentation, it's different. And I like lit magazine journals that try to do different things, right? Not the typical thing you see. So yeah, print issues, and then they said they have online issues. So yeah, so they have, online versions, it looks like, and then they have poets' voices here, I believe. And that's cool. And yeah, so I won't scroll through everything, but you can see they again have the various categories they publish, right? So yeah, you definitely have examples to read past that are free to read. I think that's great. And yeah, so let's go over to submissions here. So yeah, you can see their guidelines here. It says they accept work 3 times a year from January 1st to March 1st, June 1st to August, and October 1st to November 27th. So, on Chill Sub, I think it says always open. So, something I think Hoot could do maybe is like I think there's a way in Chill Subs to set up a recurring, windows, to list the call as recurring, and then to have the windows, um, in there, But anyways, so they have prose. It looks like under 150 words. It says we're not going to count them, but we mean it. And then all poetry less than 10 lines. If it's more, they're open to creative formatting, but still within 150 words. And remember, it has to fit on a postcard. So I think yeah, that is challenging, right? Essentially it would be more on the lines of a shorter, right? Bite-sized poems, because it has to fit on a postcard, right? So that is challenging, but I think it's a lot of fun, And book reviews, so published online, or on the back of a postcard when possible. Yeah, I think that's nice that they also try to publish other things on postcards, besides just poetry, right? It says only 2 pieces per submission. If your work is accepted, please wait a year until you resubmit. If your work is rejected, please wait 6 months to resubmit. Yeah, and they only publish so few pieces, and they accept reprints, but you have to just tell them where it was previously published. And yeah, simultaneous subs are welcomed. And yeah, so with it being on a postcard, it says here, right? You have to be open with your work being creatively formatted. So they do try to help poets make sure it fits on the postcard. So yeah, there are times, depending upon an issue size or something, sometimes you need to change the, line breaks of poems. You need to reformat it a tad, right? When you're doing that. And sometimes at Dippy, for example, we've had to do that for like some poems we were featuring in poetry collections, right? Some a featured poem from a book that someone had, a recent release or something. We just had to change the line break so that it fits on the page, right? Because sometimes poems are formatted a certain way, right? But we try to do our best to match that, but sometimes we have to make slight tweaks to that for it to fit the size of the issue itself. So, you have to be okay with that, publishers will always like be upfront with you about that if they ever have to make a change, or you have to just approve it, just review it. If you're not okay with it, it's okay to say I'm not okay with it, but in advance, right, they give you a heads up. They're like, you have to be okay with us, changing the format a little bit to make sure it fits on the postcard and everything, right, appropriately. And yeah, they says it can take a considerable amount of time, and for things to go live. But yeah, it says choosing pieces for postcards versus online is not a matter of which ones we like. We love all the pieces we publish. It says factors include what pieces we have for the other months, and they try to balance out poems and prose and keep the style and content varied from postcard to postcard. And yeah, appropriateness for sharing and the refrigerator rule, right? And yeah, yeah, and then it says, if you don't hear back from after a bit, you can pass the it's the chill subs. I think it shows right 180 days. If you don't hear back from a certain time, you can totally most of the time just reach out, right, and they'll to the lit mag or journal, right, and yeah, and that's in most cases. So yeah, so Hoot Review I think is really cool. Yeah. They do workshops too. I haven't really looked at that a much, but yeah, so they do workshop events, it looks like, and then they have, um yeah. I'm not sure what the workshop events entail, but a lot of lit magazine journals I've seen have events that they do or partake in. And Hoot Literary Magazine, I believe they're based out of Philadelphia or Philly, so I think those could be maybe local workshops. I'm not sure. I think from their social media feed is what I saw. And yeah, some places have like virtual workshops too. So I don't know, but you can check into more about that. Yeah. So yeah. So that's cool. I like the style of Hoot for sure. Now, guys, when you hear Hoot, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Hoot the book, right? I was a huge fan, I must say, of Hoot by Carl Hyacin. And for those of you who don't know what book I'm referring to, or if you never heard of it, I have it here. So I actually have a copy of this book, and the first time I read it, it wasn't this version, but was in I think middle school, and I had the one with a different cover, right, with the eyes. I think it was like a blue cover with the owl eyes, right? I love drawing owls too, guys, by the way. But I have some like owl marker sketch art stuff, right? Some of you guys have seen that, my cartoon owls. But yeah. So I think, owls are awesome, guys, I must say. So if you've never read Hoot, the book, please do. Please give it a read. It's one I never forgot about, and owls rock, guys, okay? So I think when was that book? I'm trying to remember. I think it was a 2002 book, right? So way back, yeah. I read it in middle school, and I absolutely did like the. It says it's now a major motion picture, right? So I think the movie came out in 2006, right? I could be wrong, but it was with Logan Lerman, right? It's one of his earlier movies, and I enjoyed the movie. Actually, I did, and yeah. So totally check out the book and movie if you've never watched it or read the book. I know some people prefer to watch movies over reading the books. Or in this case, I read the book beforehand and then watched the movie a bit later on as it came out eventually, right? And yeah, but a lot of times I've like watched movies without reading the series first too, like the opposite way. But not always. Like I think Series of Fortune Events and Animorphs. Animorphs had like a series too, by the way, guys. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but I used to check out at the library the VHS tapes of the series. And then what else? Maze Runner. I read the books before, and then same thing with Divergent. I read the books before watching the movie series, right? But yeah, this was one of the ones where I read the book first, in middle school. And yeah, because I would say I watched, for example, what's another one? I'm trying to give you another example. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, it's fun to read books and movies, right? For sure, this one Hoot, right, is memorable. I'm not sure, if they named it after, Hoot by Carl Hyacin, but any case, just wanted to share that because that's what I think of when I hear Hoot every time. Yeah. And yeah, I love I think little barn owls are cute. I don't remember, are these what type of owls were these guys? I'm trying to remember. um what type of owls were those? I think it was the type of owls. What was it, guys? I'm trying to think. Burrowing owls, duh, burrowing owls. So, yeah. So, burrowing owls, and yeah. So, they live in like these tiny little pockets, right? And that's really cool. So, yeah, I just had to look that up real quick. My memory is fuzzy, but yeah, so these tiny little owls are super cute, guys. You should look up like burrowing owl videos or like baby owls. It's pretty interesting. There's some fun like owl reels on social media that always make me laugh, right? So yeah, I think winter snow owls are really cool too. I really liked that movie The Big Year, right, with Jack Black. That movie was always one of my faves, about, finding the birds and identifying their calls and stuff. And yeah, so I think that's pretty neat, yeah. Anyways, yeah, so Hoot is a literary magazine, that has a pretty unique format, right? Postcard poetry. And they do publications on postcards. I think that's very cool. Now, earlier I mentioned Postcard Lit. Just like I'll hop over to their page here so you can see. I don't think I'll do an episode on them as well, but I just want to take the time to share, there are multiple other lit magazine journals I've come across that do postcards. But yeah, they're not all listed in chill subs, or they don't all show up under when you search postcard, right? So just keep that in mind. I think you could do like a search engine result, say postcard literary magazines, postcard poetry, and you would come up with other places, right? So this is Postcard Lit, just stopping by on their website to show you this is what theirs looks like, and they have it in an envelope, right? So that's cool, and each envelope is an issue essentially, I believe. So yeah, check them out too. So Hoot Review and Postcard Lit, two very memorable ones, and yeah, I think it's very cool, how long Hoot has been around in Philadelphia, and yeah. So it looks like again they're open right now. So yeah, or let me go back here. Wait, let's go to submissions. I always have to remember the. Oh yeah. Oh no, they just closed. So yeah, it says June 1st to August 1st. So they just closed. It's today. It's August 6th, right? So they just closed. So again, always double check. On here. Between Duotrope and Chill Subs. Because it'll reflect their better. And actually, let's go to their submittable page because I think that's what we'll be able to find the. So yeah, it looks like they just have their subscribe for year options in submittable right now. And some places do that. They have others sign up for subscriptions through submittable, by the way. But there are other, I mentioned on this podcast, other ways to set up subscriptions, on a site. And there's listen back, to the audio series of this podcast for that. But yeah, so we talked about owls, we talked about postcards. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I was gonna check on Duotrope if Hoot Review is showing as open. Always recommend you check Duotrope too, because Chill Subs is more of a listing that editors have to update. I would say Duotrope has checks that they do. And Chill Subs does check too, listings and suggested edits and stuff like that. Other times, others, send messages about listings and stuff too. But yeah. So let me look it up real quick for you guys, and I don't know if it says open or closed. Yeah, so um oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sharing my screen with you guys, so now I think you can see it. So yeah, let's go to Hoot postcard review of mini poetry and prose, yeah. So yeah, so it says temp close, temp close, temp close. So yeah, duotrope is accurate here. And yeah, so again, chill subs is great, for finding places, I would say for sure. But sometimes, in regards to whether calls are open, you really have to, check out the website itself. And also, I'd refer to Duotrope, on that too. You have to, it's a good idea always to like check more than one place if you're not sure. And yeah, here they have like the specified windows. I think they should just change this, to the specified dates, right? But yeah, because it says they only accept work 3 times a year. So that is, yeah. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's a postcard review of mini poetry and prose, yeah. So I don't know how you guys love postcards, but I'm raising my hand here. I absolutely love postcards, right? I think they're just a lot of fun, so many the artwork on postcards is always, what has really um made me collect them, with my mom and stuff. We had all kinds. I'm gonna have to dig through that shoebox and maybe go through memory lane again because of this for sure. So I definitely had several hundred postcards, over the years, and yeah, and postcards, are something that a lot of people still send, guys. So it's I think a great format and presentation for poetry. It's very very unique and fun. There are some places or poets in the community I know who make postcards too, by the way, and that's really cool too. So if you've never, read postcard poetry, guys, now's the time. Check out Hoot Review, get a subscription with them. Even check out Postcard Lit, and there are other ones out there I didn't mention on this podcast. I just can't remember all of the names, right, of some of the postcard ones in existence, or some. There was again this something a poet in the community created where they were delivering postcards out to, not issues, but just postcards out with different poems featured and stuff too. They weren't necessarily issues. I think it was like gifted postcards, right, or something. I can't remember the details of it. In any case, very cool. And check it out. Yeah, totally. I will drop links to what I mentioned again below. Typically, I've just been putting links of the literary magazine or journal, and yeah, but again, if you're curious about duotrope, chill subs, right, there are episodes where I have, direct links to those on those episodes themselves, where I talk about chill subs, and like subfolio. I haven't done a duotrope episode yet, but I may. We'll see. Because I've been sort of hopping into duotrope and showing you that. But and I mentioned it on one of the podcast episodes in the audio series, right? In terms of how to find calls and stuff. So yeah, so I hope these episodes are helping you. I hope you're enjoying them, and yeah, really fun. You got to eat the chicken. I don't want to eat the chicken. Did you see that, guys? So, oh gosh, that postcard here on the videos. So if you're listening out on Apple, I don't think you guys see the video again. So just make sure you hop in sometime. It could be YouTube, Spotify, wherever, you're able to look at the video, if you're curious what I'm, showing you around to some of the sites, my comments. But I try to just, cover the about of it and stuff and everything for you, and, share more about the history of it for sure. Um, yeah, and I think they even have sometimes discounts on the current postcard they have, or getting a postcard, I think. Sorry. So it says, for at the bottom here, for just $2, we'll mail the current Hoot today to anyone in the US. And yeah, and then they have like the actual subscription to like the series, right? Of their print series, right, of the postcards and the yeah, the issues they have. So I think that's nice. Again, they do a mix of online and print, right? I like that they do, more than just postcards, right? They have online examples for others. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. Can't think of anything else. And yeah, so postcards rock again, guys. Postcards rock. So bye, yeah. And we'll see what the next one will be in the next episode. I'm not sure yet. We'll think. I will think here. And yeah, by the way, guys, so in terms of like location restrictions, I didn't see any. Hoot is based again out of Philadelphia, Philly, right? As I mentioned. So I think, they do accept international submissions, right? And I came across this old page. Now, this isn't how they have, subscriptions set up currently. I believe I showed you submittable earlier, right? And yeah, but anyways, I came across this page. It's not, it shouldn't be public, I think, because they're facilitating subscriptions through submittable. But I came across this in a search result. So this is like their old page that they may maybe put up again. But you can see here, right? They were at some point in time. It says on the other subscribe shop page they had prior to the existing one. It says international non-USA subscriptions. There is a $6 shipping charge. So this is has changed the subscribe page, I believe. So if I click on subscribe, right? It says, for now, subscriptions and back issues are purchasable through Submittable. And then it says, sometime soon we will have subscriptions again purchasable through this very website. So that's just like the setup they used to have, I believe. And now everything's through Submittable. It looks like just temporarily. Yeah. So again, you can, click into that if you're interested in getting postcards delivered in the mail, right? They have it, Hoot envelopes, right? And a year of Hoot postcards. So it's like $16 for, a year subscription. And then Hoot envelopes, it looks like, I think it's $22 it's showing. So they offer an in envelope subscription, which means the postcards get sent to you in envelopes. So yeah, and then this one, subscribe for a year of Hoot postcards. You get 12 cool looking literature infused postcards. Every postcard has a story or poem written by a contemporary author with art just to match it. So yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So I'm not sure about, international shipping here. I don't see it mentioned or anything like that, but obviously you can, click in and go further and see. But yeah, I think that's cool, that they have the setup for postcards again. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to tack that on and share that real quick. And yeah, so def check out Hoot again, yeah. And postcards are awesome. I really love postcards. So wanted to take the time to share this one too, yeah. Bye, yeah, guys. See you in the next one. P.S. guys, don't forget they do reopen, and it looks like in October, and then October 1st through November 27th. So, totally circle back to Hoot Review when they're back open. It looks like in the fall, right? So yeah, not September. So it looks like September is a break for them, and then things kick back up in October, and then November, and then January 1st to March. So yeah, it's August 6th today again. So when I'm doing this, so yeah, August 1st, the last window just closed. So circle back to it totally if you're interested. And now, bye. Now, take care. I promise. Last PS note. Yeah.